good to go? Good evening, everyone. I'm up here on the staircase. Hello. My name is Bree Lake, and I'm the acting CEO for Accelerate Okanagan. Welcome to the first Okanagan Angel Summit finale. We're so excited to be here. Welcome. I would like to start by acknowledging the Selix people of the Okanagan and the West Bank First Nations for allowing us to gather on their unceded territories tonight. On a day like today, we are reminded of the beauty of these ancestral territories and how lucky we are to live in this beautiful place. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and it's been an incredible journey over the last 11 weeks, and now we're here for the finale. The Okanagan Angel Summit would not have been possible without the support of NRC IRAP, as well as some of our key partners. So thank you to Lawson Lindell, BMO, Grant Thornton, City of Kelowna, the Central Okanagan Economic Development Commission, Maven Capital, and Straw House. If we could give them a round of applause. We know as one important aspect of growing a startup community is access to capital, and at every stage of a company's growth, they're looking for this. In order to help startups access more capital, we need to focus on building a capital ecosystem here locally, and promoting angel investing activities in our community is an excellent place to start. This is why we launched the Okanagan Angel Summit. On January 28th, we kicked off with over 40 companies applying, most of which are here tonight in the room, and 26 investors participating. The summit is based on a successful Seattle Angel Conference model, and the goal of the summit was really to raise awareness about angel investing, to create collision zones for investors and startups to build meaningful relationships, and to educate accredited investors and startups about how to go about the process. In the last 11 weeks, investors have pooled together $5,000 each to create a venture fund, and as a group, learned how to go about the angel investing process. The investors evaluated this group and refined it down to 24 companies. These 24 companies then participated in the quarterfinals, where they presented 3-minute pitches to the room full of investors. Next, it was narrowed down to 13 companies for the semifinals, who had the chance to present their 10-minute pitches to the investor group. And after much deliberation, 5 successful companies were chosen to continue on to the finale. These companies have gone through an intense due diligence process over the last 4 weeks, and will take the stage one last time tonight to pitch to win $130,000 investment. So stay tuned. I would now like to invite His Worship Mayor Colin Bazarin to come up and say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Bree. Good evening, everyone, and how about a round of applause for Bree and the great job she's been doing in her acting capacity as the head of AO. Great job. So I had some prepared notes, but I'm just going to skip them and be pretty quick because I want to hear from our top 5. So I just want to say, firstly, congratulations to everybody who's been a part of putting on this incredible event. Connecting local entrepreneurs with local investors has been something that has been pondered and thought about, and really to see this come to fruition in such an incredible way really is amazing. And I just want to say, too, that it's helping foster a further spirit of entrepreneurship in our city. Those of you in the room may know, but I think it's worth repeating. Last week, again, the City of Kelowna was rated by the Canadian Federation of Independent Business as the best place in Canada to start a business. How cool is that? And it's because of amazing events like this. So I want to thank everybody who's had a part in this. But it's not only just about the creation of business and the growth of business. All of you here are helping create a very progressive and amazing community. And so I want to thank you for that. I want to thank everybody for their investment in this community. And I'm really proud of what we are growing together. So thank you, everybody. Enjoy your night, and look forward to hearing from our top 5. So it's with that, I'd now like to introduce the City of Kelowna's Director of Business Development and Entrepreneurship, Robert Fine.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, everybody. What a pleasure to have you here tonight for the inaugural OKGN Angel Summit. And this is a special moment. I'm honored to be here, and this is about as close as I'm going to get to having the feeling of what it's like to be the Pope. Who knew? This is amazing. Another perk, another perk. We're going to have a great evening tonight, and we are streaming live on Facebook. So if any of you are here with people you shouldn't be with, you've been forewarned. But we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Great chance to enjoy some amazing Okanagan Food and Wine Network. There's an incredible collection of folks that I see below here. And we're all here to find out who's going to grab the $130,000 prize as our inaugural winner of the Okanagan Angel Summit. So the night's going to be, we're going to try and run it as tightly as we can. We're going to have a keynote forthcoming from Mr. Jeff Keane. And he is waiting in the wings here. This is our version of the wings. He's very excited. We're going to hear the 5 pitches from our finalists. The investors will do their deliberation. And then you'll have another chance to network, enjoy some more food and wine. And we will also give you the opportunity online to vote for your favorite pitch so that you're involved in this process and you have a say as well. And then at the end, we'll announce the People's Choice Award and, of course, the final winner of the OKGN Angel Summit. So I'm going to get things started. I'm going to turn things over to Mike McCauley, who's going to say a few wonderful words. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Robert. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Mike McCauley. I'm a partner with Lawson Lundell. We're one of the sponsors of the OKGN Angel Summit. It's really a pleasure for us to be able to help to support the OKGN Angel Summit this year in its inaugural year and to really have been a part of it. Growing and supporting a thriving angel investor community is really a critical component of having any sort of sustainable startup ecosystem. And so this is really a key piece. And it was 18 months ago that sort of a chance conversation I had with Twee and a conversation with John Seacrest about how he could bring his angel conference model that he'd been using in Washington State and Oregon up to BC, and discussions we've been having up here with some folks around how do we support the growth and foster connections in the angel community here in the Okanagan. And that led to an introduction there that sort of planted the seeds for what has grown into the Angel Summit. So it's really exciting for me to be here tonight and be able to see sort of what this has turned into, and to have been able to chat with some of the folks who participated in the event last night and hear about the connections that have been fostered and see that everything really is, growing and coming together the way that everyone had hoped. And one of the other pieces of this puzzle, and why I think the Okanagan Angel Summit has been a success this year, has been some of the groundwork that others have laid before in terms of building both the startup ecosystem here so there's enough deal flow to support the angels, but also to lay some of the groundwork in building and organizing that angel community. And our keynote speaker tonight, Jeff Keane, I couldn't think of a better person to be speaking at this event tonight, as he's really been involved in that at all levels. Involved as the CEO of Accelerate Okanagan and on the board of Accelerate Okanagan for many years, helping to build the startup ecosystem and build the community around entrepreneurs and build a culture of entrepreneurialism here in Kelowna. And then also through his work with founding and forming Atrium Ventures and investing in local startups, and also helping to get some of the local angels involved and organized around that. And it's been remarkable to see the impact that Atrium's had in the community, and when they write a check to a local company, other angel investors will follow on, and that's really how things should work. And hopefully, out of the Angel Summit, some more of that interconnectedness and more co-investments come out of it. So, with no further ado, I'll introduce and turn it over to Jeff Keane.
It's kind of surreal being standing on the stairway talking to you guys tonight, because when we first kind of envisioned this building and kind of designed it, we thought it'd be cool to have a little platform people could speak to people in the atrium, and so it's really kind of cool to be here. Okay. So when Joanna asked me to speak to you guys tonight, I kind of asked her if there's any kind of specific, messages and themes that kind of they were going for, and it was really about investing locally, and how that's made a difference in the community. And so I can tell you a little bit about my story moving here in 2003. We were recruited up here. My wife and I were recruited up here for employment. And there was lots of questions in our mind about, what's the community like in Kelowna, and what happens if it doesn't work out when we get there, and what kind of other job opportunities are available for people in the tech world, and what's my spouse going to do, and what kind of schools are there, and what kind of ecosystem is there to kind of not just grow your business but grow your families. And back in 2003, there was really just a handful of technology companies that I was aware of. And being a tech executive from Vancouver, moving to Kelowna, it was pretty high risk about the limited opportunities, that would be here for me if it didn't work out. And it didn't work out for me, but that's a whole other story that takes a lot more time to talk about back then. But the same kind of experience happened with, starting Accelerate Okanagan when we were kind of dreaming about it in 2010, 2011 about what AO could do and what contribution it could make to the community. And it was really hard for us at the time to convince someone to be a board member, or convince someone to be a partner or a patron, or support this organization that was going to help entrepreneurs, right? And what did that mean? But fast forward to today, hundreds of companies have been through AO programs, and thousands of jobs have been created or spun off, and millions of dollars have been raised. And if Ragwa was up here right now, he'd be saying 12,000 jobs and 750 companies. And did he not drill that into us, or what? I had lunch with Ragwa yesterday in Vancouver. He probably wishes he was still here. But I'm a bigger believer than ever that Ragwa's relationship with AO and the Innovation Center in this community is going to pay dividends for us for a long time. He brings a really unique regional perspective to BC, to Innovate BC, and I think that's going to be great going forward. But most of those fears I had about moving here in 2003 have all been eliminated. And there's a lot of companies moving here today for the kind of opposite side of the coin, right? It's a great startup ecosystem. There's access to people. There's two great academic, institutions here. There's funding. There's a place to kind of hang out as an entrepreneur. There's mentorship and programs, and it's just been really incredible to watch that transformation over, a really relatively short period of time. And also, lots of job opportunities. Like, I haven't looked at the AO job board lately, but I know there's a ton. And that there's only about 10 or 15% of jobs that actually get posted online. So you kind of get an idea that there's, tremendous opportunity here to start and grow a business, and tremendous opportunity here for your young person to get into the tech industry and get a great job. So that's huge. And like Mike was saying earlier, we owe a real debt of gratitude to the people, back in the 70s and 80s when there was a handful of technology companies here that really laid the groundwork for what's happening today. So thankful for those guys too. And it's only been a few years, right? Really, since this incredible transformation is happening. So Robert alluded to the Federal Independent Business Report that just came out. I'm going to read this word for word because otherwise I'll mess it up. Entrepreneurial Communities was the name of the report. Canada's top places to start or grow a business in 2018, and Kelowna was #1 on the list. Incredible, right? So back when we were kind of envisioning this building, and we were, going to the different levels of government for support, bear with me as I read through this. You'll understand why at the end. The Innovation Center will be a hub of innovation, creativity, entrepreneurship, and technology. Working closely with entrepreneurs, industry, academia, and Accelerate Okanagan, the Innovation Center's key objectives are entrepreneurial development and education, company and job creation, economic growth, and diversification of the region's economy. A lot of buzzwords, right? But it ends with, and helping to establish the region as the best place in Canada for entrepreneurs to start and grow a business. How crazy is that, right? And of course, we can't take the credit for all that happening, but it's amazing what happens when you put things out to the universe and rally a bunch of people around something that you really want to make a difference. So it's really incredible what you can do. And the kind of, message in this is just how investing locally can make a real big difference. Whether you're an entrepreneur from back in the 70s or 80s and 90s back in Kelowna starting out and making things happen, you invested locally to do that. Whether you were an early adopter of Accelerate Okanagan and being a partner, sponsor, member, or paying Venture Acceleration Program client, you're all investing in what's happening here in your local community. And this building is another good example of investing locally. And it was not all easy, as you can imagine, with 3 levels of government trying to create a building that was on a really complex structure. A few years ago, we had Steve Blank remotely at the Kelowna Community Theatre talking to entrepreneurs in Kelowna. And we asked them directly, what are the 3 things, what are the 3 key successful traits of a successful startup community? And he said, without hesitation, an outward-facing academic institution, number 1. Number 2 is supportive and collaborative entrepreneurial community, number 2. And an active investment and funding community. So at the time, I thought, you know what, we got UBCO and Okanagan College, and we've got Cato, and we've got some really great things going on in the tech community. We've got some good academic institutions. The supportive and collaborative entrepreneurial community was kind of growing and fostering, and you kind of feel things changing here. But one of the pieces that was always missing was an active and engaged investment community. Another interesting fact is, this report's a bit old, but it's still relevant. Steve Kane from the Kauffman Foundation did a survey of job creation in terms of business, and he says, quote, if you took startups out of the picture and looked only at large incumbent businesses, job growth over the last 35 years would be negative. That's insane, right? 35 years of data saying job creation would be negative if you took startups out. And in the words of Kane, when it comes to job growth, startup companies aren't everything, they're the only thing. So, I also believe that entrepreneurs are going to be the people that are out there solving world problems, whether it's, homelessness or, the cost of housing and financial literacy and transportation. The other cool thing that's happening in the Okanagan right now is this rise of the social enterprise. There's some really great companies out there supported by this movement of organizations that want to support those companies, and it's just fantastic to see. It's another kind of missing component that's starting to happen here. So, congratulations to Purple and, Do Some Good and Jason Richards' new company and Trellis, and there's a whole bunch of companies out there that are really building companies around doing good, so that's awesome. So again, the key to all this, investing locally, we're just scratching the surface, and investing doesn't mean money, right? It just means investing your time, spending time with these entrepreneurs, introducing them to your networks, introducing them to partners or talent. And if you take everybody in this room as an example, if everyone in this room spent 1 hour with one of the companies in this competition, what kind of difference do you think that would make to their business? And if you extend that to the community and have this community spend time with those entrepreneurs, what kind of difference do you think that would make to their business? And that's where you see this kind of network effect and really powerful growth of these businesses that are doing great things for our community. So a little bit on the building. We're happy to say that the building's 100% full. Our newest tenants will be in by the end of the year. We're really excited to see what kind of impact the building continues to have on the community. Back when I kind of quoted you about, the building has this economic development and, we're going to be Canada's best place to start and grow a company, we really didn't know what the hell we were talking about, right? It was just all this dream. But to see it kind of come to fruition in some way is pretty amazing. So we're pretty excited to see what the next few years, I don't know, this building's been around for, 3 years now? Or no, 2-year anniversary, in April 17th, right? So not very long. So again, a little bit about the funding piece. To all the entrepreneurs here, congratulations. Even out of the 40, there's 5 in the finals, but there's side deals going on already with companies that aren't in the final that are getting invested, which is absolutely incredible. So congratulations to the founders of these organizations. You guys are doing something that 99% of the population is too scared to do. And another 99.9% would never get up and talk about it in front of a room of people, so good for you guys. And to all the investors in the room, thank you on behalf of the entrepreneurs in the community for investing locally. The impact of your involvement with these companies, your mentorship, and your money is going to have a tremendous impact for a long time to come. So congratulations to everybody. Have fun tonight, and good luck to all the companies.
Okay, everyone. Before we get the show on the road, I just wanted to say thank you, Jeff, for your keynote and all of our speakers. I just wanted to give a shout out and call out a few key people that helped to make this all happen. We have Thuy Tran from our team, who is a leader in it, Brody DeSimone, who's our lead investor, Richard DeKai, as well as John Seacrest, who couldn't be here with us tonight, but I know he's watching from Seattle. And last but not least, I would love to give a huge shout out to our staff and our team that makes this event and this finale possible and made sure that the last 11 weeks have been a success. So thank you so much to our team. So next steps. If you have a black wristband, head on into the theater. If you have a yellow-orange wristband, head upstairs to the lounge here. Pitches are going to start in 5 minutes, so get to your places. Thank you, everyone.
Good evening. Nice to see we're all seated. Look at that. No one standing at the back. We don't have to direct anybody to seats. That's awesome. Anyway, this is really why you're here tonight, the fun part of the evening. And it's a really interesting format. So this is as we vie for the $130,000 and an internship internationally with SNC Lavalin. Thank you so much. Thank you. I just want to bet. Appreciate that. So the format, this is how things are going to transpire here. We're going to have our companies come up and do a 10-minute pitch. Following the pitch, the lead diligence investor will then take the stage and ask questions, 5 minutes in length. And we have randomly selected the order in which our companies will pitch. So we're going to start with 925 Freelancing, followed by Clinetics, Plurilock, VO2 Masters, and wrapping up with Trellis. So without further ado, we'll get this rolling, and I will ask Dan Rondo from 925 Freelancing to come up on the stage.
That's awesome. Let's get started. Thank you guys all for coming tonight. I know I'm speaking for myself and the other entrepreneurs when I say we're really grateful that you guys have taken time to come listen to us and have us talk about things that mean so much to us. And 9 to 5 Freelancing it's my world. It's an on-demand staffing application for iOS and Android. You know, in the last 10 years, we've all borne witness to how Uber and Airbnb have made their mark on the world by simply connecting two parties that need something. They've made finding a car easier and finding a house for vacation easier, but they haven't really made a material difference in people's lives. And that's what we aim to do. Currently, right now, half of the population is $200 away from not being able to pay their bills. And it takes them 5 months to find a job. On the flip side, Canada is going through the largest labor shortage it's ever had. Half of the small and medium-sized businesses in the country are reporting this labor shortage causing a direct effect on their bottom line. When they have this problem, they go to a staffing agency. These staffing agencies have been around for years. They charge high fees of 200%. They have long lead times of 5 days. A lot of times, they're providing poor quality workers, and there's zero accountability. And that's what we come in and do. We have Uberized the temporary staffing model for trades and labor companies. We charge a fee of 35% an hour above the rate paid to the worker. Businesses can now connect with temporary workers at the touch of a button. And people can now get a job at the tap of an app. What we've built is really amazing. We've taken that 5 days that businesses usually have to wait, and we've compressed it down into 45-second fill times. Not only that, our platform has reduced fees by 50%. The best part that I'm most proud of is workers that choose to go onto our platform earn 20% more than they would with a typical staffing agency. And finally, we have the 1 to 5 star rating system that drives home accountability. As you know, the market for staffing worldwide is absolutely huge. Businesses have grown and flourished in this area for years, coming in at $460 billion worldwide. In Canada alone, it's worth $1.2 billion. And the market that we can obtain is worth $960 million. Those companies, like Labor Ready, Matrix, and Faber, send out thousands of people every day to job sites who need their help. So we're going to carve out our niche. We're going to go after the businesses that need help in residential construction, commercial construction, restoration, warehousing, and residential maintenance. We're going to be connecting them with contractors that need work as concrete workers, laborers, drywallers, carpenters, and electricians. So we launched back in July, and we've done an amazing job with our beta platform. There were 1,100 people available in the Okanagan area, and I'm proud to say that we were able to get 99% of them on our platform. It represents a massive % growth rate. The best part is we were able to achieve positive cash flow by month 7. We started with 10 businesses, and we're up to 69. Originally, we only had 100 workers. As you can see now, we're up to 1,100 and growing fast. The businesses that have used our platform are ecstatic about what we're providing them. H&H Homes filled an empty position in 49 seconds. That's almost as fast as hitting enter and getting a reply. Not only that, we've only had one person on the platform rated below 5 stars. 97% of the people that have shown up have gotten a 5-star rating with a smile on their face, ready to give 110%. The team consists of myself, Daniel Rondo, my partner, David Bernard, and our wonderful developer, Alex Saunders. David Bernard has 30 years in the construction industry, and for those 30 years, he has struggled to fill positions and watches his projects have been delayed time and time and time again by people who don't show and agencies that can't deliver. My 10 years in oil and gas, I saw the same thing on a bigger scale. And Alex Saunders' brilliance has been able, or has shown how we can use technology to bridge that gap. As I said, the market is huge, and the incumbents have carved out massive niches for themselves. However, we as a business believe that when we go to market in the next 12 to 16 months, we will be able to acquire 100 workers a day, which would equal $1 million in net revenue for 9 to 5. As you all know, that would result in a business valued between 8 and 12 million going forward. Again, I want to thank you guys for listening to me talk about my business. We're looking to change how the world works, and let's just help people pay their bills and keep a roof over their head. Build a business while doing it. Thank you, guys.
Hello. 1, 2, 3. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jason Kriske, founder of Straw House Inc. You guys might know me in town. I'm also the due diligence lead for 925, and I had the pleasure of speaking with Daniel and his team about going through the process. So we learned a lot about due diligence and in essence, and we learned a lot about Daniel's company. Even though, a lot of the people on the team had done and made investments before, I'm not sure how much actual, formal due diligence there had been. So there was a lot of learning done. So we learned about Daniel's team. Clearly, incredibly passionate founders looking to really make a change in the world on a basis of not just trying to make money, but trying to solve a big problem. One of the really things that stood out to us was just how coachable and just how receptive to feedback and learning the team was. Also, when we looked at the market, we found that not only is the rise of the gig economy really giving forth to additional temporary labor, but in the future we saw that the rise of automation and AI was really going to contribute to a higher availability of labor and opportunities for those people to be able to utilize their skills in other places. On the traction component, the team had gotten into market last year, produced some revenue, but had received some feedback that the application needed some additional features, so they pulled the app from the market and produced some product improvements, and that are now going back into the market for the spring and summer push for construction labor. So the questions I've got for you, Daniel, one of the first question is, this is on my phone, so remember it. Your employer-side sales strategy, you're building a double-sided marketplace. So you got to attract employers and you've got to attract employees. Your employer-side sales strategy is currently dependent on you as the individual. How are you planning on scaling your sales?
Great question. We've identified a key partner that we are bringing in that uses AI technology to produce lead gen for our business and is going to be able to provide a rapidly scalable and accelerating process for us to close businesses.
Cool. He said AI, so it's got to be good, right?
Yeah.
No, but seriously, that sounds actually like really streamlined. I like that.
Buzzword.
Now, second question is, there is no incumbent disruptor in this space, even though it appears that it is rife for disruption based on the data that you've shown. How are you preparing to beat companies with significant resources, such as Uber, that's shown interest in entering the temporary labor market?
Another great question. I'm actually going to point to an example that I'd say 99% of this room has used. Skip the dishes. Uber has tried to displace them, but they're first to market. And we're going to be first to market as well. And we've formatted the business so that we are the most cost-effective and efficient business that we can be, so that there is no single feature that they could identify or bring to our customers that would push us out.
Great. I have a skip the dishes addiction. It's almost problematic. It's like room service for your house. Right? So I'm a big fan. Anyway, also, third question. So what, if anything, is stopping an existing staffing agency like the companies that you spoke of in your presentation from developing and promoting their own application in this space?
Another great question. And to be quite blunt, nothing. However, at the end of the day, these staffing agencies are good at staffing. They're not good at software development. We've spoken to actually some of these competitors who have tried and failed to develop online marketplaces and just couldn't do it, so had to go back to their core technology or their core business. We are a software company. We're built to execute on software, and that is our niche, and we're going to be better, more efficient, and faster at it than they are. And to be quite blunt, they'd have to reformat their entire business to match us, which simply is too expensive.
That makes sense.
Thanks.
Great. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Oh, pardon me.
All right, and just to clarify, when our presenters hit the 10-minute mark, they're going to start. They will hear a loud clap to tell them, Fraser, that's your job, right? Big task, big hands, perfect. And then you can certainly join in the sense of friendship in the room by clapping to gently tell our folks their time is up. Thank you so much for the presentation, Dan. I'm going to ask David from Clinetics to come, please.
Thanks very much, Robert. I want to thank everybody who's participated in this. It's been phenomenal. It's been a great thing for us to go through as a company. And I'm really excited about seeing this grow and getting bigger. So this is Clinetics. I'm the CEO, David Bruff. Clinetics is an industrial scale cloning facility that is going to revolutionize cannabis supply chain. What we've done is we've developed an actual scientifically backed facility that will produce identical clones that will have predictable THC and CBD contents. We have exclusive world-class portfolio of cannabis strains. This is going to be one of the biggest things in cannabis when it comes down to the actual strains, the quality of strains, and how rare they actually are. The market itself is absolutely huge when you start to look at the actual small to mid-sized growers out there. When you take a look at some of the companies that we've signed with, you're going to find out that these companies are going to produce more marijuana than some of the big players out there. We've also been able to identify multiple opportunities throughout Canada that we will be pursuing shortly. So the value proposition here is really about creating 100% sterile, no bugs, no mildew plants. The biggest issues that you're starting to see now in these large LPs, and you've seen it recently with Aurora, they've actually had to destroy crops because they're getting too many bugs, they're getting mold, they're getting mildew. By doing the tissue culture samples, we're going to be able to guarantee the plant genetics and the fact that they're going to arrive completely sterile and ready to be planted. The additional opportunity that these LPs are going to see is by taking their actual existing space that they have now and converting that to all flowering and removing their actual cloning, you're going to see an increase in their gross profit from 25 to 40%. That's huge. That's without an increase of actual square footage at all. So the other things, when you start to look at the actual strains that we have within our portfolio right now, we've got one strain alone that on a per gram basis sells for $115 a gram. Those are strains the big boys, the mid-sized players, and the small guys are all going to want to have that they're simply not going to have access to because we have the exclusive rights to them. The other thing we're going to be able to do is produce something called a ready-to-flower plant. Everybody in this room, when they go to a nursery and they want to start planting tomatoes, nobody buys a little 2-inch tomato plant. Everybody goes out and buys an 11 or 12-inch tomato plant because they want tomatoes in June, not August. Our ready-to-flower plant is not being used right now in the cannabis industry, and it will absolutely increase their yields, and we'll be able to see additional cycles every year, which will increase profits at the end of the day. The actual market itself, by 2020, is 190 million clones. This is a 10 million clone a year facility, so we need a very small fraction of the actual market to make this successful. So when you start to look at the scientific tissue culture versus the traditional clippings, you hear all the time, different companies are going to do clippings and they're going to grow clones. When you start to look at by using an actual pure clone versus a clipping, you can actually reduce the amount of power you use and get greater yields by having clean tissue culture, scientifically backed clones. That's a huge thing that these guys are going to start to want and need here. So our executive team, keep in mind, our company's only been around since late November, so you're going to see some major progress that we've done since then. Our executive team has been building companies for the last 25, 30 years. When you start to look at, again, we talked about the exclusive strains. By having 5 of the #1 producers of strains in the world under exclusive contracts, that's a game changer, and it adds a huge amount to our valuation at the end of the day. So again, tissue culture clones, what they do is they create a consistent, predictable, clean strain. Automation. Automation is everything. Everybody in this room loves tech. They love automation. As you can see here, this is an actual picture of what our facility is going to look like. So we've utilized vertical growing. This machine that you see there will be able to read the RFID tags on every single one of these plants. It'll go up and down these rows. It'll pull them, and it'll move them to finishing rooms. And it's going to reduce our labor costs by 75%. Now, the packaging. Our proprietary packaging is huge. What this does for the actual mid-size grower and the mid-size LPs is it provides you with a completely sterile plant. But what's also very important about this packaging is Health Canada is going to be able to come along with an RFID reader and hit it, and it's going to tell the Health Canada inspector where this was developed, when it was developed, what facility it came out of, when it was shipped, and whether or not it was sterile when it was arrived. That's huge, because what's coming in 2020 is you're no longer going to be able to utilize what we would call in the old days the black market strains. You're going to have to be able to prove your starter material and thereby, produce legal strains. 8.5 million. We just closed a non-dilutive round, a term sheet, for $8.5 million with a REIT called CanaREIT. That is a huge thing for us to be able to accomplish. Gives us the full capital we need to build out our facility and $2 million worth of working capital. And more importantly, they've committed to us while we're going through the license process that they will actually provide us capital to develop this company as we move forward. So that was a huge plus for us that we recently just closed. The regulatory process, we've talked about that. I know our DD team looked at that and they had some concerns. How long might it take to go through Health Canada and how is this going to work? I can tell you that our team in a very short 3 months took our ALR land and was able to actually get approval from the Agricultural Land Commission to utilize our land to grow cannabis. That was probably a bigger hurdle to get through than the actual application is going to be with Health Canada. So I got to thank Brian and the rest of the team who really pulled that off quite well. Now what we've done is we've specifically gone out and put together a team of guys to apply for the license that are already security cleared with Health Canada. So that's a huge hurdle that we don't have to go through, and that will give us the ability to meet these timelines that you see up here and push this company forward quickly and get us through the licensing process. So let's talk about the valuation increase. Since we did our actual first round of financing, which was a friend and family's round of $500,000 at 20 cents, we actually ended up selling over $800,000 worth of that round. We have then turned around and increased the value in the company by putting the land purchase agreement together, getting it out of the ALR and getting permission to actually use it to grow cannabis. We've also signed a deal with Craft Depot. Craft Depot is a portal that has over 400 growers registered on it right now. Craft Depot and its growers will produce more marijuana than Tilray and Aurora. And this is what you're starting to see. The craft guys and the smaller players are getting together in co-ops and creating actually very large companies at the end of the day. We were able to go out and negotiate by hiring a strain finder to go out and put these strain agreements together, which I believe are the best in the world, and I think when you start to see them come out in the public, you will as well. The cannery deal was huge. It's non-dilutive. What that really does for us from a valuation standpoint is that keeps us from having to dilute ourselves around another 40% in this company. That 40% we can return to you guys as shareholders, use as expansion, and to grow this company. The last thing is the proprietary technology that we put together with our scientists to actually identify each and every cannabinoid in our clones. What that's going to do, it's going to give these different scientific players the ability to put together strains for medical reasons that are specifically designed for the treatments that they want to make them. So you have to ask yourself, when you look at Clonetics, we have the capital put on the table to build this facility out. We know in a 10 million clone a year facility, if we do 5 million clones out of that facility, that's a 39 million EBITDA a year if we do half that facility. We've already been offered to build another one out in Eastern Canada, and we have an LOI sitting on our desk for Australia and New Zealand right now, and we've already had to send actual strains, what's in the strains, over to Australia for one of their clients. This morning, one of the Craft Depot guys called me and asked if they could get 10,000 clones today. So is the market there? Is Clonetics poised to actually take a piece of this market? Absolutely. Thank you.
Hey, David. Not long ago, investing in the cannabis industry meant buying an F-350 and renting a property in Grand Forks. It's changed a little bit today.
I drive an Infinity, by the way. I don't have an F-350.
My name is Fraser Campbell, and I'm the due diligence lead for Clonetics. The rest of my team I want to thank for the effort that we put in. This is actually more effort than I've made in my life in any of the investments. For $5,000 was a great experience. So through the process, we worked with these guys. They have an incredibly strong team with a great bench strength. They've got lots of good background and lots of diversification. There's no duplication. We worked with them through a bunch of different areas. They've got the regulatory guys, they've got the development and financial team to make this all work. The market is incredibly crowded right now. Health Canada still hasn't decided how this is going to work out. The whole nursery and clone and delivering of plants is still an unknown. Right now, most companies are having to put the clones down in their own property, which is taking up to 25% of the current space. So these guys have come up with the idea that they can put that space back into revenue generating, growing, and I think that's a great piece. And the 190 million clones required is a sizable chunk of change when you start looking at some of the value add properties these guys bring. On the traction end, Clonetics is a very early stage applicant, and so the downside risk is they probably are 12 to 24 months away from actually getting to full throttle. But the differentiation they bring to this game is game-changing, and I think it will be incredibly disruptive. The issue is going to be how quickly can they get through Health Canada, which is a complete unknown. It's a government agency. So I think you did a pretty good job. My first question was going to be on why the REIT, but I think we all understand that kind of a lift is pretty good. So can you explain a little bit more about how the strain library and the scientists is going to differentiate you from the rest of the clone heads in the business?
Well, you know what? You bring up a great point, because when you start to look at when people talk about clones, and I didn't call them clone heads, Fraser did. Just get that on the record. The bottom line is, the way that a lot of these companies go about it is exactly the way that people used to do this with the, with the black market and the gray markets and that, where they were just literally taking clippings and that kind of stuff. Our mothers have all clipped a fern and put it in a jar and done that kind of stuff. This is absolutely a scientifically backed cloning facility that is going to allow us to literally clean these actual strains out and produce perfect genetic form every single time. Now, the thing that we're going to take further that nobody else has even thought of doing is actually scientifically starting to break these strains down into individual cannabinoids. Now, when you go out there and you see cannabis today, they talk about 2 different types of cannabinoids, THC and CBD. Well, there's actually well over 100 cannabinoids in there. So we're the first guys that we're aware of that have been able to identify those. So the other thing is by having the strain library we have, and being able to do it scientifically, these guys are going to be able to use less energy, so they're not going to have the 1,000 watts, they're going to be able to use 600 watts. They're going to be able to produce more flower in a smaller space with less plants. So, and then finally, our proprietary technology that we put together to do the ready-to-flower plant, which is that 12-inch plant, will absolutely be a game changer on how they utilize their floor space. And when you're talking about, this is a game of inches in the flowering space. Everybody wants to cram as much as they can. So what I believe will happen is the guys who are growing because they have no other choice but to do so now, because we have what's called a white label program, we can take their strains, clean them up, grow them, and sell them back to them. They will start to build less and less cloning space and convert it to flowering, which will be right exactly into our business plan.
And this ready to grow is currently used in the agriculture industry in tomatoes and cucumbers.
Every day. Yeah, I mean, the big thing about business, and we all know this, is you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. You just have to do it better than the guy who is doing it now. So as I mentioned earlier, peppers, cucumbers, tomatoes, they all use a larger, more hardy plant that's going to have a better survival rate in the greenhouses. That's what we're creating in marijuana. And that's why we think we're going to be leading the race for the clone heads.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks, President.
Nice job. Thank you, David. All right, we'll ask Ian from Plurilock to come up to the stage.
I was trying to think of an Attack of the Clones joke to beat the SNC joke, but still elusive. So good evening, everybody. My name is Ian Patterson. I'm the CEO of Plurilock. We're actually based in Victoria, but we've been back and forth and loving Kelowna. So Plurilock is a cybersecurity company. And to put this in context, think about every time you've been asked to change your password, or every time you get that email notification saying, unfortunately, your data has been breached. Our solution solves that. We make authentication less frustrating, and we make your business interactions safer. The company has been around for a couple of years, and ultimately, our competitive advantage is our unique use of artificial intelligence. So the problem is data breaches and the way that traditional businesses have tried to secure against them. The numbers actually seem unrealistic. $6 trillion by 2020 or 2021. It's actually hard to comprehend. But the stat that is most telling is that 4 out of 5 data breaches today start from a lost or stolen credential, which is a technical term for my password got stolen. The traditional solutions to this problem are to use things like hardware tokens. So for the business owners here, think about when you have to wire money and you have to log into your bank account and you get that little token where you put in the 6 digits and it rotates every 30 seconds. It's very frustrating. For consumers, think about when you're logging into Gmail and it says, I don't recognize where you're connecting from, check your SMS message, I've just sent you a 6-digit code. These interactions really slow down the day. They're very frustrating, and they've proven not to stop a lot of the data breaches that have occurred. What we do is we look at your human behavior. So the way that you walk and talk and sit and write is all unique to you. Using our patented artificial intelligence, we're able to extract the micro expressions of how you behave on a computer, and using that AI, compare your interactions against a profile. So effectively what this means is the way that you type on a keyboard, the way that you move a mouse, we actually use as a form of authentication. We actually look at 20 to 40 different signals, including things like the way that you type, the way that you move a mouse, your location, your pattern of life, how do you behave in the morning versus the afternoon, and we're able to build a very, very accurate profile to authenticate the user. To give you a very concrete example, think of the way that the time that it takes you to press down a key and release a key. That's called your dwell time. Your dwell time for each key press has a certain amount of uniqueness. And then we build on things like speed, rhythm, and cadence on top of that. Now, cybersecurity is a very crowded space. If you look at this slide right now, you probably will recognize some of those logos. You actually may not recognize some, but there's a lot of noise out there. The thing that we do differently and better than anybody else in the world is that we use artificial intelligence to discern your unique behavior. If you compare us against other security solutions out there, we're relatively the same price. We work with a lot of the same systems, but we provide a much faster way of authenticating, and we're also able to authenticate much more often throughout the day. Ultimately, customers buy from us because we're able to help them comply with regulation, but we also provide a better user experience for the users within the business. So think of this, you have to buy something. You are required either by law or by regulation to purchase a piece of software in this category. And then how do you make a decision? Do you buy the one that's cheapest? Do you buy the one that has the most awards? Or do you buy the one that actually makes your employees get business done faster? Do you buy the one that's actually easier to use and will delight your users? That's us. The market that we play in is identity and access management. It's an $8 billion market globally. We're focused very narrowly on the financial services segment. We have customers in a number of segments. We have some government customers, some power plants, call centers, banks, and hedge funds. But where we've found disproportionate success is mid-sized financial institutions. In the United States alone, there's 3,000 regional banks that fit our criteria. Our average contract value is $100,000 per year, which gives us an addressable market of $300 million just for that customer base, just in the United States alone. So behind myself, the team back in Victoria, very experienced management team. We've all had previous exits. And the core intellectual property was actually developed for a number of years at the University of Victoria. So when we talk about our data science capabilities, we have actual, real PhD data scientists who've been working on this problem, which is a very hard problem, for many, many, many years. They've done their PhD dissertations on this topic, and we have the strongest team who's been working on this problem in the world. We also supplement our management team with a terrific board of advisors, including Admiral Mike McConnell. He was the former director of the National Security Agency in the United States, and then he was also director of national intelligence. So that position held the CIA and the NSA and all of the intelligence communities. They all reported up to him, and he sits on our board of directors as our independent director. We're currently raising a round of investment, so we're looking for $1.5 million. We've banked about 30% of that so far. We have some soft circle commits on probably the balance of the round. Things have been coming in over the last couple of days. Ultimately, we're able to use this money to get to cash flow break even by Q1 or Q2 of next year. And the use of funds is really to accelerate sales. So we're very confident that we've nailed what our ideal customer is. We have 2 of them so far. We're looking for the next 6 or 10 or 20 of them. And so we're looking to ramp up on the sales and marketing and hire in market, which would be in New York. Thank you very much.
My name is Carolyn Schaefer, and I'm the due diligence lead for Prolock, and I'm very happy that I just walked those stairs in heels. Our due diligence team felt very fortunate. Ian and his team were very responsive to our questions. They gave us a wide array of information, and I was also able to go to Victoria and see their offices and see some of their software development processes. So we're just going to highlight a few of the topics we covered in due diligence because we covered so many. We were very impressed by the maturity and the experience of their team. On the product side, as Ian said, they have individuals who have degrees with computer engineering and astrophysics looking at this product. The whole team itself has been involved in the startup industry, so they have experience in the organization, the drive, and the motivation that's needed to do this type of process. With respect to the market, we were interested in the fact that the product is somewhat unique in its market segment in the fact that it is one of the few that is doing internal workplace authentication for continuous authentication, and it would take a competitor 12 to 18 months to find a product, to develop a product that was similar. Finally, we were impressed by the fact they'd been in the market long enough to develop to know that they have two products. They have an enterprise solution and a SaaS solution. And with the SaaS solution, they've identified their ideal customer. And that was just recently. So in Q1, they identified their ideal customer profile. So that's our first question. Since identifying your first customer profile, your ideal customer profile, can you elaborate how many companies are in your sales funnel and at what stages you're at with those companies?
Yeah, so the corporate history, I mean, the technology started at the University of Victoria. So there was research being done by PhDs for a number of years before the company actually got going. So it was legitimately a research project up until 2016. At that point, the company was founded, spun out of the university, spent a year in product development, launched in 2017, so a year later, and then we started signing up our first customers mid-2017. We were very intentional to try and go as broad as possible. So I mentioned that we have a couple US government contracts. We have a couple customers in financial services already. We have a call center. We have a power plant. And so we went very broad. And the question we were trying to ask at that very early stage was, where does this fit best? What we found is that the enterprise sales cycles were a little bit longer. The deal sizes were larger, but there's just a lot of risk, especially with current geopolitical tensions that exist in the world and governments that may be shut down from time to time. And so what we realized was, when we looked at the data, it seemed like the financial services customers were more eager, they moved faster, the deal size was right at $100,000 a year. And so the hypothesis this past fall was, if we just focused there, what would the business look like? So this past quarter, the 90-day sprint that we've been undergoing has been to really focus on just mid-sized financial services. The results have been really good. So we reached out to 20 institutions, of which 11 converted into actual opportunities. Our sales cycle is about 5.5 months. So we're well into some demos with some of them. And we're just finalizing an agreement with one regional bank. It's about 3,000 employees in size. And the deal value will be just a little shy of $500,000.
That's great. Can you explain somewhat also your valuation? As you indicated, like behavioral biometrics is a huge field. But Plurilock itself in the competition has the highest valuation. Can you explain that, and then how it relates to your anticipated exit?
Yeah. So we're building an enterprise software company, and typically when you're dealing with infrastructure projects, so things like firewall or authentication or logging, the capital requirements to build a minimum viable product suitable for a bank are higher than just a consumer SaaS product. So part of it is just the market that we operate in. I actually pulled some exit multiples from similar companies that have been acquired over the last 2 years. And so I think ultimately it comes down to, what is the return going to be for investors? So there's a company called Elastic that was purchased by Symantec for $280 million. They had $7.5 million in revenue, so 37 times revenue. Red Owl purchased by ForcePoint, $54 million acquisition, 13 times revenue. New Data, actually in Vancouver, purchased by MasterCard for $200 million, 13 times revenue. And then Caspida purchased by Splunk for $180 million. They had $1 million in revenue, so 180x. So when you're talking about data science solutions in cybersecurity, the valuations on exit are just significantly higher because of that capital intensity. And so as a result, the deal is just priced accordingly.
Can you also explain, I guess, the benefits of coming out of the University of Victoria, having like the product developed, some of the research coming out of there, and then the product development?
Yeah, so we've been very fortunate. I mean, as you mentioned, we have literal astrophysicists who work on these problems. Like we're doing frontier tech. There's no API that we can call or model or library that we can just pull off the shelf. We have to build it all ourselves. And so the relationship with the university has been extremely helpful in terms of building that competitive edge of we have the best people in the world, and we can demonstrate that by the 3 issued patents or the hundreds of journal articles or the thousands of journal citations. And we've been able to maintain that both from the original founding of the company through to now where we're at, which is scaling and adding additional features and adding additional products. And then the last thing that I would say is that some of our staff members are still affiliated with the university, and so we get to see 100% of all the comp sci kids who go through, and so recruiting for us is not really an issue, whereas I think for a lot of tech companies, getting access to top talent is really, really hard, and that's never been our problem.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. Certainly very topical. I had like the perfect storm of hacking yesterday. My password 12345 was hacked by a Nigerian prince who promised to give me a whack of money and then accused me of watching porn. So it's a very difficult day for me. So couldn't be better. All right, we'd like to ask Peter from VO2 Master to come on up.
You hear me? Nice. All right, so human performance is a worldwide market worth billions. As the size of our population grows globally, so does the size of this market. It's in our competitive human nature to need to understand where we're at in order to know how we're going to get to where we want to be. Whether you're an amateur athlete or a seasoned professional, your key stakeholders need to understand a couple key metrics about your performance in order to intelligently train you, stop you from getting injured, and make you faster. The most important of those metrics is the volume of oxygen the body consumes, also called VO2. The problem is existing VO2 measuring equipment is tethered to the lab. It's very expensive, it's bulky, it's difficult to use, and it's limited in how you can even use it. So we at VO2 Master 5 years ago set out to make something a heck of a lot better. And I'm happy to report that we have, evidenced by a whole bunch of happy customers and a couple patents filed. So effectively what we've patented is the ability to measure the world's most important... Oh, still good? The world's most important performance metric, measuring it in a way that enables so many additional market segments not currently captured by what's out there. So to put it in plain English, and as an example of one market segment, you could say that it's for, say, athletic testing centers who need to objectively measure their athletes' performance. VO2 Master is a portable VO2 analyzer that enables really good physiologic insight by tracking the different energy systems of the body. You get to understand whether it's your lungs or your heart or your legs or your technique that's limiting you from going faster. And from that information, you can iteratively become better objectively. So VO2 Master predominantly makes money from the sale of its hardware unit, which is just $5,000, and I'll get to the just $5,000 in a second. We also offer a payment plan that reduces the cash burden for small businesses like, say, a local coach. And since those small businesses can actually charge for VO2 testing, we've set it up in such a way that if they just do two hour-long VO2 tests a month, they'll actually make money as they're paying for the device. On the recurring side, we have an annual service that we perform on each unit that's out there. And we also have consumables, some sanitary filters that are sort of one-offs per test, and additional respiratory sort of airway components that you can have multiples of or spare replacements. We're also developing a website that does data synchronization and advanced analysis. That'll be offered as a SaaS feature. And from that mass data, we'll be able to get some pretty interesting information and insights on people's performance and efficiency and recovery and risk of injury, and maybe even later on, people's health. So going to market, we are going to initially focus on the pre-existing VO2 testing market, which is worth about $500 million. To do this, we already sell directly to North America and English-speaking countries, and we have 10 distributors set up around the world in places where there's a cultural barrier or a language barrier. So directly, we target coaching businesses, university researchers, and gym franchises. So the coaching businesses we target through social media and through championing our existing customers that are quite influential. Universities, we're going to start a really, really nerdy blog post because they love white papers and they love data, and they're really curious people. And the gym franchises are quite similar to coaching businesses, but they're more focused on the ROI aspect of how they can reduce the churn of their clientele and increase their revenue. And for all three segments, we're going to be doing booth events and direct sales because everyone in these three segments is available on Google Maps and just on their own websites. Moving forward from that, we're going to target service members as a segment, firefighters, police, and military, where it's literally life or death, whether or not you decide someone's actually fit to do what you're asking them to do. You also have team sports, where it's a heck of a lot more useful to measure athletes' performance in situ rather than sending them away to a lab to run straight on a treadmill. Say, for example, you're in soccer. Later on, of course, there's a medical aspect, and blue sky later on, there's 30 million pro athletes in the world, and they'd be crazy to not use the world's best method of objectively training. So that's actually a $180 billion value potential. So it's not exactly a niche play. So to look at our competition, you have to look at history. So 30 or 40 years ago, the lab cart was invented, which was a great piece of technology that enabled this measurement that used to never be available before. But it was sort of overdue to be replaced. It took till about 10 years ago for someone to decide we needed a backpack unit. But the problem is they're just a slightly more portable version of the same thing. They're still $20,000 to $50,000, and they don't enable the same segmentation that, say, our patented, truly portable and simple device does. And if you want more information on competition, we have a lot of it. I just didn't want to overcomplicate the slide, so please come see me after. On our team, we were fortunate to have a really great group. My co-founder, Dr. Andrew Sellers, is an anesthetist, a world-class triathlete, and a coach himself. Our marketing guy, Sebastian, was the youngest pro tour cycling coach in history and has built and sold 2 scalable performance testing ventures. Our sales guy, Rick, was a chiropractor and has built and sold a company to 3M. On the advisory side, I've been really, really fortunate to get a whole lot of support from the community, including the likes of Gary Van Soest, who's built and sold 9 ventures, Byron Bolton, who has built from nothing the largest aluminum hull boat manufacturing facilities in North America, award-winning tenured professor Kenneth Chow, who's published in Nature magazine, and as everyone knows, Lance Schaefer, who built and sold lemonfree.com. So we're very fortunate. Looking towards the forecast, we're selling about 3 units a week right now, and we're looking to quickly sell about 5, moving into 20 units by the end of 2020 per week. So as you see on the graph, along the bottom we have cumulative customers, and I put that there to demonstrate that with our current manufacturing capability, we don't really need to change much in order to get to $1 million in revenue a quarter. What we've built scales, and there's no substantial changes required to get to a healthy cash flow. So speaking to traction, our Q4 of last year, we did $150,000 in revenue, having just started selling in August. And I'm happy to report that this past quarter, even though we had our slow time of January and the start of February, through the end of February and March, with our increased momentum of the growing team, we've actually managed to make slightly more money, which I think is awesome. And looking at our customers, last time I pitched that number was 100, so now we have 120 customers. And just this, I think this morning or yesterday morning, Nike has continued to be a repeat customer of ours. So we're raising $500,000 at a $5 million valuation to continue the scale of our current product offering, to develop the next version of our product, and to strategize how we're going to either grow into the mass market and focus on athletes, or grow into the medical market and then try to find a strategic acquirer based on that, that decision point. And we should also mention there is already interest out there of a potential acquirer who's evaluating our tech. So thanks for listening.
Test. Hey, Peter.
How's it going?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So I met Peter at the coffee shop in Vernon and invited myself to go visit his production, his office space, production, testing spaces, and I was most impressed by the paint booth, which is quite something if you've seen it. Through the due diligence process, we're looking at three primary things: the team, the market, and the traction. Of the 5 finalists, I think you've got a good track record of traction with actual sales and revenue, and you're on path to break-even point at some point, not too far down the road. Early on, one of the things that we identified was a possible lack on your team of somebody focused on and capable of building out the marketing capability. So I want to ask a question about how many inbound inquiries you've had.
Right.
And what has been your success, and what's your plan to tackle those?
Yeah, well, that was a problem for a while. So it took us a while to get the product going into the market. So for a long time, we had more demand than we could fill. So I think now we have 1,300 people in our CRM that we've only got back to when they've reached out to us. And we still need to go through the process of starting to actually market and sell to them. So that was a limitation brought up in one of the meetings 3 weeks ago. And since then, I've taken steps to hire someone to do monthly blog posts, to do bi-weekly social media posts. We're hiring a full-time marketing person who will build out our collateral to start targeting our existing customers and building onward. And I should also mention, I do have a tendency to be modest, I've been told. Our Sebastian on the slide, he's built 2 scalable businesses before he has some expertise in marketing, and he's right in our market. He's a pro tour cycling coach. You don't get better than that, and for a team member. So yeah, there certainly needs to be continued focus on the marketing side.
Good. Some people might not know that in your fairly small office and production and laboratory spaces, you do product design and product creation with 3D printers and your own staff. And do you envision at any point having your sales at a point where you really should be offshoring the manufacturing? And is manufacturing a line of business that you want to keep under your own roof?
Yeah, it's a really good question. We started 3D printing and prototyping because it was fast and simple, and as 3D printers got substantially better, it just so happened they got good enough we could start producing with them, so we did. And the math works very well that we can, I don't know if I should speak about cost of manufacturing publicly, but it's a very good margin, and there's no reason that margin can't scale to the 1,100 customers that gets us to $1 million per quarter. So it would be a challenge in itself to switch to, say, an injection molding setup that is done in China, as opposed to leveraging the continuous advent of 3D printing and just doing it in-house. And there's efficiencies to that too. There's no risk of sort of mold setup or huge orders. We just print them as needed. And if we have product iterations that come through the pipeline, we just push them through the exact same process. So we've done 8 mechanical version iterations since September, and you probably wouldn't notice because they're small, but that's something that would be impossible if we had ordered $50,000 of injection mold blocks. So it's because of the quality of 3D printing getting better, it's just less and less desirable to go offshore. but I'm open to it if it makes sense at any point.
Good answer. So as investors, one of the questions that we have to ask is the market that you're focused on, is that the best possible market for this product? Is that going to produce the best returns? And so it's fairly easy as investors and not fitness experts or VO2 experts by any stretch, to envision a business-to-consumer product where something like the cardio heart monitors, which have become a consumer product at a $600 price point. Is that something that you can see, that you're interested in, and that you might follow up on?
That's one of the long-term visions, I think, is it's that idea of why does everyone measure heart rate, which is arguably less valuable than VO2, and no one has access to this, so that'd be nice, but I think in the short term, there's a whole lot of potential in these existing metabolic cart segments, because there's a whole bunch of people that go, oh my gosh, I've never heard of you before, that's exactly what I wanted, I want to buy it. So it's sort of been easy to sell into those existing segments, and as we grow, that is a question of, how well can we sell into active service members? Is it more fruitful to sell, say, a medically certified version and pursue that route as opposed to going mass market? And I think there's enough potential there between all the segments I've listed and talked about that I think we can experience that considerable growth, and in the interim figure out what's ideal, whether we want to go, say in 2020 or 2021 we want to go mass market, or do we want to pursue medical? And say if we went to the medical side, that's its own behemoth, but it might be something attractive for an existing metabolic cart company that recognizes their sort of missing piece. So it becomes an acquisition strategy, either way.
Great answer. All right, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. And we're now approaching our final pitch of the evening, and everyone's done a remarkable job and keeping on time. We haven't had any spontaneous applause. It has had to cut people off, so well done. So no pressure, Justin. This is our final pitch. Please welcome Justin from Trellis.
Thank you, Robert. How's everyone doing in here? We good? We're excited? And what about up in the lounge? Yeah, we heard it. We did it. That's awesome. All right. So my name is Justin, and I'm from Trellis. And I am so excited to be here. So the charity industry is bigger than the oil and gas and cannabis industry combined. So we are an event management platform for charities and nonprofits. Oh, I'm not in the light. Now I'm in the light. We are an event management platform for charities and nonprofits, and we help them create, manage, and grow their fundraising events. Before this, I started a company called BizNAS. We built products for other people. We did $1 million in revenue in our first 2 years, but I exited that company because I didn't want to build other people's dreams. I wanted to build my own. And what I learned from building a successful app development company is that validation and customers matter. So what did I do? I went out, exited from that company, and I talked to over 100 charities. I flew across the country to make sure it wasn't just Kelowna, and they all have the same problems. Charity events are hard to run. With donation processing, donor retention, and tax receipting, it's not an easy task. So we've solved that problem. We have a product, it's in the market, and it is being used by customers, and they love it. In 5 minutes, they can log in and create an event. With that, they can automate their tax receipting. They can start selling tickets and processing donations right away. However, that's only half the problem, because only half the events are actually run by the charity. The other half are run by the fundraising champion on behalf of the charity. So as you can see behind me, this is Reed. He's raising money for mental health, to raise awareness. And before Trellis, he would have to work really hard, get all his friends, family, people in the community to come together to raise $100,000. And then at the end of all that hard work, Reed would simply hand over the check to Third Space, which is the charity in this case. That's it. That is a lot of missed opportunity. With Trellis, we're connecting the fundraising champion directly with the charity, so they can share data. They can do marketing and messaging and automation around all those attendees. The charity can finally get access to Reed's network. And of course, Reed can now offer tax receipts because it's all automated. So he can raise more money for his event. So in just 12 months, we have proven revenue, we have a product that's in the market that works, and we have customers. Customers like this that you're going to see in every single community across North America. And they're running those golf tournaments and those gala dinners that we all know and love that happen every single year that are going to be powered by Trellis and already are powered by Trellis. This market size is only 10% of the GDP in North America, I think. So it's not too small. And the event space within that with charity ticket sales and champion-led fundraising is $50 billion plus. And it's the online portion of that is growing at 20% year over year. Think about that. In 3 years, the online portion of this industry will double. Our business model is simple. We charge 4.9% for every ticket sale and transaction on our platform. And what makes us different from our competition? There's two main players in the space. We have the general event management platforms, like Eventbrite. And then we also have the all-in-one charity platforms, like Canada Helps and Blackbaud. So what happens there is all of these customers I've been talking to, they are sick and tired of Canada Helps and Blackbaud. So what are they doing? They're going to Eventbrite because Eventbrite gives attendees, everyone here, a great experience at the event. But it sucks for charities. Trellis handles all of that nice front-end stuff that Eventbrite does, but we also do tax receipting, split receipting, donation-only events, selling items and upselling, integrating with charity CRMs. So our strategy for growth is simple. It's a sales funnel and then a rapid growth marketing strategy. Our sales funnel, we've already got a 100% response rate on our cold emails we send out because charities don't get sold to that much, and we have found a very key pain point. So when we get a demo or we send them a video about how easy it is to run an event and automate all of that tax receipting, they're in. And that 25% conversion rate is very high. And that's something that we're really proud of because we spent so much time understanding what our customers' pain was. One customer processes $160,000 in ticket sales and donations on our platform every year. That's $24,000 in revenue for the lifetime of a customer for Trellis. There are 84,000 charities in North America that fit in our target market. We need 162 to get $26 million in ticket processing and $850,000 in revenue in the 2-year break even. I know, 2-year break even. That might sound like a long time. How am I going to get that growth curve? And this is what I'm really excited to tell everyone about today. We've been working really hard on this. We have secured an extra $250,000 to give away to motivate people at charities and champions to build events on Trellis. That's going to come in the form of a host of fundraiser competition. We are going to launch a nationwide campaign to bring in people to use Trellis and give away $250,000 as a donation. This will fuel our viral growth and success for Trellis. We are going to put $100,000 of our own money, Trellis, into marketing this competition. And then that $250K will fuel 500 events minimum, $675,000 in revenue, and $10 million in money raised for fundraisers, for charities, that wasn't there before. Think about where we are right now and how excited we all are here to be here because we all love OKGNtech. It is a competition. We're all excited about it. That's what we're going to be doing at Trellis. And if you still don't believe me, there was a company 6 years ago that did this, and this is exactly how they grew. 6 years ago, they put out $100,000 to build a business. And with that $100,000, they did that every year after because it worked so well. And that little company at the time is now Shopify. That is what Shopify did to grow, and that's what we're going to do here at Trellis. So with that, we're going to get a minimum of $1.3 million in annual recurring revenue from those two strategies, and we are going to hit that break-even mark way faster, and we are going to be raising another round at a much higher valuation because everyone is going to know who Trellis is across North America because of this amazing money that we've received and all the the customers we've had so far. So my name is Justin Goodhue. I'm the founder and CEO of Trellis. My first company brought me to Silicon Valley. My second one, we did $1 million in revenue in our first 2 years. My business partner, Jay, he has 10 years of software experience, and he's a published author with Nest.js. We also have Kylene, that makes sure we're doing good in the world. We have Mike, who makes sure we're growing. He was at Hootsuite and Strawhouse with growth. And we have Greg, who works at Google on the platform, Angular, which is what we're building our platform on. We have a direct line to where they're going. And lastly, Angelie is our legal advisor and on the board of the Okanagan Food Bank. And this team are all upstairs right now, and this is the reason I am on stage, because of them. And I get a little emotional because they work so hard, and it's amazing. So I just want to highlight all the stuff they've done. And we have a team that's ready to go, to execute. We don't need anyone else. We're here, we're ready, and that's that team. So we have secured a $500,000 investment. When I stood up in front of you guys on January 15th, I had $0. I just opened my round. We now have $500K from the Click Group and Atrium, which are both here today. And also last night I just got off the phone and Risa Capital is also in our round. We have $500K investment. We have that extra $250,000 as essentially free money that was going to get donated anyways. Now it's going to power so much more growth. And lastly, we want your money. I want all 25 of these angels to be on our team, because we're going to make a lot of money and we're going to do a lot of good. In 3 months, we've had a successful raise. We've added to our team, our advisors, and we have an amazing investor group. And lastly, we launched our product 6 weeks ago, and we got more sales so far than we did in our test we did in the fall. That is all in this 3 months. So this is why I think that Trellis deserves to win this money. And I'm just so humbled to be on stage, to be able to present to everyone here, and so excited for the Okanagan tech community. My name is Justin. We are Trellis, Events for Good. Thank you so much.
Hey, Justin, how's it going?
Good,
Good to see you. Hi, everyone. My name is Scott McFarlane, one of the investors in the group here, and I was the due diligence lead for Trellis. So we've been working on some due diligence, getting under the covers to understand his business over the last 4 weeks. When we started, the team put together, I think it was a list of 2 or 3 pages of questions, and the next day, Justin had provided us with access to his data room on Google Drive with all of his documentation, with answers to all of our questions that we were digging into. So he's been very transparent, working very well with the investment team. We explored all of his legal documentation, shareholders agreement. A couple of weeks back, I went to his office and met with his team. Jay Bell, his chief technology officer, sat down with me, walked me through the technologies and tools that they're using to build their product and to build the various quality assurance and customer service processes in the business. So they've got a very good, well-rounded team established and good processes in place. We also, Richard Takai, one of the due diligence team, met or contacted 4 of the existing customers of Trellis, and they were all very happy to give very positive reviews. They're very satisfied with the product and the service Trellis has been providing so far. So I have a couple of questions for you, Justin. The first one, now this is some new news that we've learned since the due diligence, this $250,000 prize competition that you're planning. Could you tell us a little bit more about how that came about and how that's going to unfold?
Yeah, so there's 3 people in the room right now, Ryan, Dallas, and Andrew, that put up that money, and it's because they wanted to give back to the community. And then I told them what we were doing, because they just called me and said, hey, Justin, we want to donate this money. Where can we go? And I asked them, well, how did you get this money? And they said, well, we started thinking pretty big. So I said, well, let's think big. What can we do? And I know a lot of people at Shopify, and I started looking at what they did and just dissecting what they did with this competition and how it started at this small little thing, but they took, like Shopify took the last 100K from their bank account to run this. And then that's how they grew. And so I've been taking it apart and realizing, like, holy smokes, this can do it. And then seeing what's happening today, that's how we get that growth curve. So that's why I'm really excited and also very humbled to have these individuals that believe in us so much and want to fuel, that $250K can fuel, we're not 100% sure. We're going to figure it out, but $10 million in donations, things like that. And that's what we're excited about.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
The other last question I have for you, regarding the growth, accelerating your sales activity in the coming year, I know you've already had some great early traction with some really well-established local charities, United Way and Okanagan Food Bank in particular. I'm wondering, what can you tell us about your plans for getting engaged with some of the larger national charities and the enterprise side of the business?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the enterprise charities we're really excited about. It's not if, it's when. The products they're using versus what we can offer them on a customer experience side, there's nothing to compare. However, we're not there yet because we need to integrate with their systems. So we've identified the 3 CRMs we're going to integrate with. We have a plan to do that. We have the contacts in those companies to make sure we can make that happen. And this investment round that we've are about to close is going to help us do that for the enterprise side. And they're very excited to work with us. KGH, you can talk to them. They're excited about it. They just know we need some time, and we're going to do that. And then there's also the other side of things, which is the national brands. Their whole goal right now is to bring more economies of scale and help their chapters. So I'll give you a great example. I was in Toronto meeting with the head of the food bank in Canada for their marketing. And they were asking us about this fork and spoon gala we did at the Central Okanagan Food Bank. And I told them, and they said, so all we have to do is get someone else to use Trellis and then change the date and the location, and everyone can do the fork and spoon gala and raise another $20K for their charity or whatever that is. And I said, yes. And they are excited because that now makes them look good. So they want to push me through to all of their chapters because it makes them look good and it hits their business goals. So that's why we're excited.
That's great. Thanks very much. Good luck, Justin.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. So a big round of applause for all of our companies that pitched tonight. Brilliant job. So before we break, I'm going to ask our investors to head upstairs to the and meet Wolf Blitzer in the AO Situation Room on the second floor so you can begin your deliberations. You all have an opportunity, both here in the room and upstairs as well. Nothing. I'm not Justin, clearly. To vote for your favorite company here. So we've got the info up there. So this is using VoxVote. So voxvote.com, live.votevox.com, and the PIN is 55213. You have roughly 45 minutes till 7:45 to vote, and then we will reconvene on the second floor on the stairwell there to announce both our winners. So go out and network, have some fun. If you want to learn more about the companies that pitched, visit their displays out there, and we'll see you in a short while. Thank you. Oh no, please. Oh no.
Story song, a triumph and a glory song, with only one small caveat. This one hasn't happened yet. It's not the strongest narrative, but details aren't imperative. What matters is the way it ends, and they've got 16 mutual friends. He's got animal spirits, and he's got heartfelt lyrics. Put them together and you can hear it. Oh, a song everyone knows. And he's got animal spirits. He's got heartfelt lyrics, put them together and you can hear it. Oh, the way the story goes. Now everyone seems unaware that these two are a destined pair. But I checked out their astral chart. This one is a work of art. Now I know she reads astrology, and he can't stand astrology.